At the annual strategy meeting, my manager joked, "Let's all thank her for making copies and smiling through meetings she doesn't understand." He smirked and added, "Maybe next year she'll graduate to coffee duty." Instead of responding, I had already sent the board a full portfolio showing I had written half the strategic plan they were applauding. When they publicly praised my work, and not his, he couldn't even look me in the eye. I don't wear flashy heels. I don't do the fake office laugh. I don't flirt with clients or call my coworkers babe. I show up early, I work late, and I get my shit done. That's it. My name's Dana. I'm 33. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I work at a regional strategy office of a bigger consulting firm. It's the kind of place where PowerPoint decks matter more than people, where the guys who golf with partners get promotions, and the ones who grind behind the scenes get labeled supportive. I started as a junior analyst 7 years ago. I earned every raise. I've taken no long breaks, pulled multiple all-nighters, and watched half the guys I trained get promoted ahead of me. Why? Because they present well. Because they're good in a room. My manager's name is Brad. Mid-40s, nice teeth, plays golf at a club that costs more than my rent. He has that confident, fake charming thing. He once told me during my review, "You're solid, Dana. Not flashy. But that's okay. We need quiet team players." That was the same review cycle I'd carried our team's entire Q3 initiative, wrote the client plan, built the retention model, managed the junior analysts. He presented it, called it a group effort, and took a bow when the VP nodded. I was never even mentioned. Still, I kept my head down. I thought maybe the work would speak for itself. Then came the 2024 annual strategy meeting. It's the biggest internal event of the year. Every team from every regional office sends a lead to present to the board. They fly in from New York, Boston, Chicago, Dallas. Big room, expensive food, a catered lunch where people pretend shrimp cocktails are exciting. The kind of meeting where people wear their best suits and speak in fake accent consultant speak. Our regional team was chosen to present our strategic plan, a big deal. Brad was the face. I was the engine behind it. I spent 3 months analyzing metrics, modeling outcomes, refining client data into something board-friendly. I wrote 60% of the final report. Every idea that had weight came from my keyboard. Brad? He added some visuals and cleaned up the transitions between sections. Then he said, "Make sure the appendix has the details. They won't read it, but it makes us look smart." I stayed late every night that week. I didn't complain. But inside, I felt something starting to crack. I wanted one thing. Credit. Just once, I wanted to be acknowledged for the brain behind the plan. I didn't need a parade. Just a mention. But something about Brad had started to shift lately. More cocky. More dismissive. Like he could feel people noticing my work, and it made him nervous. 2 days before the meeting, I did something I'd never done before. I wrote a quiet email to the board's operations team and copied our VP liaison. It said, "Ahead of our regional strategy presentation, I've attached a supporting portfolio with methodology breakdowns, model assumptions, and original drafts created for the plan. Please let me know if any clarification is needed." That's it. No names, no drama. Just the facts. I attached my drafts, spreadsheets, projections, every annotated document I'd written. If anyone bothered to read past the slide deck, they'd see it was my work, not Brad's. I hit send. And I waited. The day of the meeting, Brad was glowing. He wore a new blazer. Shook hands. Laughed loudly. Told me, "Relax, Dana. Just smile and nod. You're great at that." We presented. Or, rather, he presented. He stood up there, walked them through my analysis, and polished it like he'd built it from scratch. I sat off to the side, quiet, professional, trying not to grind my teeth through my cheeks. And then, right at the end, he looked around the room with that smug little grin and said, "Let's all thank Dana for making the copies and smiling through meetings she doesn't understand." I stared at him. He wasn't joking. People chuckled. A few even laughed out loud. Then he added, "Maybe next year she'll graduate to coffee duty." More laughter. And I just sat there, looking calm. But inside me, something had finally snapped. The smugness in his voice. The way he looked at me like I was lucky to be allowed in the room. Like I was some intern he'd done a favor by letting help. What he didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was that the board already had the truth in their hands. And then, right on cue, Leland, one of the board's senior members from New York, cleared his throat. He was looking at my appendix packet. He flipped through a few pages, tapped something with his pen, then looked at Brad and said, "Actually, I'd like to hear more from Dana about this revenue risk model. It's impressive. You built this, Dana?" Brad's mouth twitched. I nodded. "Yes, I did. Happy to walk you through it." What followed was 20 minutes of real questions. Deep questions. The kind only someone who understood the plan could answer. I answered them clearly. Calmly. No stumbles. No one laughed again after that. By the end of the meeting, the board members weren't shaking Brad's hand. They were coming over to me. One said, "We've been looking for this kind of thinking." Another said, "You've got a sharp mind. Let's keep in touch." Brad didn't say a word. He didn't even look at me. Just packed up his laptop, fast, like he couldn't get out of there quick enough. That was 2 months ago. Now? Brad's been repositioned. Not demoted, not fired, but shuffled into a new role that's less client-facing, more internal strategy. Meanwhile, I'm being flown to HQ next month to meet with the executive planning team. People know now. They know who built the plan. They know I'm not the girl who makes copies. I'm the one who built the damn engine while he stood in front of it waving his arms. And I didn't have to yell. I didn't need revenge with fire or fury. Just proof. And silence. But that's not where this ends. Because Brad? He's not done trying. And I'm not done with him. After that meeting, things got quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet in that fake way where everyone pretends nothing happened, even though everything changed. The following Monday, Brad didn't come in. By Tuesday, the whispers started. Transitioning roles, they said. Corporate wants him focused on internal initiatives. But I knew what that meant. They pushed him sideways without making it public. No announcement. No memo. Just, gone from our floor, gone from the meetings, like someone erased his nameplate overnight. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I kept working. But Brad wasn't done. He might have been taken off the team, but he wasn't fired. That's the problem with guys like him. They know how to survive. And when survival feels threatened, they don't go quiet. A week later, I was copied on a bizarre email chain. It was from Brad, to the board's operations director, to our VP, and CC'd to me. He'd discovered discrepancies in our Q2 forecasts. Said he'd reviewed the original data and there were methodological inconsistencies in my projections. He was trying to imply I made a mistake. I sat at my desk staring at the screen. My hands got cold. He was trying to claw back credibility. Not by being better, but by dragging me into doubt. Making it look like maybe I wasn't so sharp after all. Maybe I just got lucky. He didn't expect me to have receipts. I printed everything. The models. The email trails. The data pulls with timestamps. I built a 3-page response breaking down every formula, every source, and exactly how the forecasts were validated, including the third-party data audit I'd requested without telling anyone. Then I attached one last thing, the audit signature page, signed by our internal compliance lead. I hit reply all. Please see attached validation package. No inconsistencies found. Original model matches compliance records and third-party verification. Happy to walk anyone through methodology if further clarity is needed. Silence for 3 days. Then a reply from Leland, thanks, Dana. No further action needed. Brad never responded. I thought maybe that would be it. That he'd finally give up. But 2 weeks later, I got called into HR. Not my HR rep, corporate HR. They said someone had raised a workplace behavior concern. Something about my tone in emails and failure to properly credit team input. I asked who reported it. They wouldn't say. But I knew. I asked to see the emails in question. They showed me 2. One of them was the reply I'd sent with the validation documents. The other was an old thread from 6 months ago where I'd told a junior analyst to stop copy-pasting data and learn to do the pulls himself. That was it. I kept calm. I explained everything. HR nodded a lot. Took notes. But I knew how these things go. Doesn't matter if you're right. All it takes is enough concerns and they start treating you like a problem. I walked out of that meeting shaking. Brad wasn't just trying to fix his reputation. He was trying to ruin mine. So I did something I never wanted to do. I went to our VP. Not with gossip. With facts. I brought a folder. Inside were timelines, email chains, copies of Brad's comments, his complaints, and a comparison showing how every attack started after the board meeting where I was praised. I didn't cry. I didn't accuse. I just said, I've worked here 7 years. I've never had a single disciplinary meeting. I built models that brought in millions. But now I'm getting HR flags for being direct in emails? I'm not asking for protection. I'm asking you to look at the pattern. He looked through the folder for a full 5 minutes. Then he asked, do you think he's targeting you? I said, I don't think. I know. He nodded once. Quiet. Then he said, thank you for coming to me first. I walked out and didn't look back. That was Thursday. The following Monday, a mass email went out. Brad Warner is no longer with the company. We thank him for his contributions and wish him well in future endeavors. No farewell party. No LinkedIn post. Nothing. Just gone. But the real twist came 2 weeks later, when I found out who'd interviewed for a job at our competitor's Charlotte branch. Brad. And guess who else used to work there? My old grad school roommate. Still in touch. Still friendly. She called me one night and said, hey. That guy Brad? He used your portfolio in his interview. Claimed it was his. But I recognized the formatting. That's your style. He was trying to sell my work to get back in the game. I sat there, silent. And I realized, this wasn't over. Brad had just switched the battlefield. The call from my old roommate shook me more than I let on. Brad wasn't just trying to drag me down anymore, he was stealing my work to build himself back up somewhere else. That's a different kind of threat. Quiet. Dangerous. Hard to trace unless you're watching closely. I asked her to send me what she could. She emailed me a screenshot of a slide deck he brought into the interview. I opened it and felt my chest tighten. It was mine. Not similar. Not inspired. Mine. Same charts. Same fonts. The same color-coded legend I'd made up because Brad said green made the board feel hopeful. Except now, it had his name on the title slide. I knew I couldn't stop him from job hunting. But this? This crossed a line. So I called someone I never thought I'd speak to again. Rhonda, our old director who now worked at the competitor company. She'd left 2 years ago, but she remembered me, said I was one of the few people who kept her sane back then. I told her everything. She didn't sound shocked. Let me guess, she said. He presented your model as his, left out your name, and tried to spin it like it was his idea from jump. I didn't say anything. Typical, she muttered. Let me make a call. 2 days later, she called me back. He's not getting the job, she said. I made sure they flagged his deck and checked the metadata on the files. Your name was all over the doc history. Idiot didn't even bother scrubbing it. I laughed once. Bitter. Then she added something else. But Dana, he's not going away quietly. He told them you leaked his materials. That you had access to his files and sabotaged his chances. I froze. He said what? He's already building a story. Just be ready. It clicked for me right then. Brad was setting up a narrative. Not to win. Just to muddy the water. If he couldn't succeed, he wanted to make sure I went down with him. So I did something I should have done earlier. I got a lawyer. Not to sue. Not yet. But to build a record. I sent over the emails, the slides, the metadata with my name, the timestamps showing when they were created, long before Brad had access. My lawyer nodded. We'll sit tight for now. But if he goes public or tries this again, we're ready. Then she gave me an idea. You ever think about filing a cease and desist? You've got grounds. If he keeps using your work, it's intellectual property infringement. I hadn't thought about that. But suddenly, it sounded perfect. Quiet. Clean. Legal. I drafted the letter with her help. It went out certified mail. A week later, I got confirmation, he signed for it. And that's when he made his next move. I walked into the office Monday morning, and someone had slipped an envelope under my door. No name. Just Dana scrawled in block letters. Inside was a USB drive and a sticky note. You might want to see what your golden boy's been doing with client files. Not everyone's as blind as you think. I plugged it in. Ran a virus check first, I wasn't stupid. What I found made my stomach turn. It was a folder of documents Brad had been keeping. Old client presentations, annotated call logs, even internal strategy drafts marked confidential. But not just saved, edited. With dates and comments that didn't match anything I remembered. He was trying to rewrite history. I forwarded the contents to my lawyer and to our internal security team. Within 2 hours, I got a call from corporate legal. Where did you get this? I told them. Dana, the voice said flatly, this isn't just unethical. This is criminal. This is data manipulation. If he used this in any external interview, we're going to need to escalate. Suddenly, Brad wasn't just a smug ex-manager with a bruised ego. He was a liability. A rogue actor. A fraud. And now he was cornered. But a man like Brad, a man who'd built his whole image on control, doesn't go down easy. So when I found my LinkedIn flooded with vague posts about disloyal juniors and corporate betrayal, I wasn't surprised. He didn't name me. But everyone knew. The comments were full of sycophants, old coworkers who still thought he walked on water. You were the best manager we had. People don't know what loyalty means anymore. And there, right in the middle of the pile, was one comment that made my blood run cold. Don't worry, Brad. Truth always finds its way out. She'll get what's coming. From a fake account. New profile. No photo. No details. Just that one sentence. She'll get what's coming. I clicked the account. No connections. No posts. Nothing. But I knew. Brad wasn't finished. He was hiding behind fake profiles, stirring drama, trying to bait me into responding. Trying to make me slip. I didn't respond. I documented it. Every post. Every comment. Every fake profile. And I waited. Because now? Now I had more than just a revenge story. I had a case. I didn't sleep much after that LinkedIn comment. I kept wondering how far Brad would go. What else he had saved. Who else he might try to pull in. Guys like him don't just lie, they recruit lies. Make people believe them. He was good at it, once. I was sick of playing defense. So I made one last move. I went back to corporate legal. I told them everything, the LinkedIn post, the USB, the fake files, the manipulation, the fake profiles. I showed them screenshots, email timestamps, metadata, all of it. They didn't say much at first. But they looked serious. Then one of them, a woman named Diane, asked, "Would you be willing to make a formal complaint?" I said, "I already did." She nodded. "We'll take it from here." I thought maybe that would be the end. It wasn't. Because 10 days later, corporate issued a statement. Quiet, not public, just an internal bulletin sent through our secure portal. Brad Warner is under investigation for breach of confidentiality, manipulation of proprietary work, and misconduct involving internal and external materials. And that wasn't all. They sent a second notice. A company-wide reminder about intellectual property, ethics, and reporting violations. It was subtle. But it was clearly written for him. Then the lawsuits started. One from a former client, who realized Brad had reused their material without permission. Another from a junior analyst who said Brad bullied him into signing off on a report Brad altered after it was submitted. It was like the floodgates opened. I didn't cheer. Because somewhere in all of it, I started to feel off. Empty. I had won. I'd cleared my name. I'd exposed a fraud. But it didn't feel good. Just cold. Like I'd spent so long trying to survive him that I'd lost track of what it cost me. I'd become someone else, someone always documenting, always recording, always waiting for the next attack. I wasn't living. I was preparing. And I realized something that hit harder than anything Brad ever said. I let him live in my head too long. The moment I realized that was the moment I knew I had to walk away. Not from the company. From this. I declined the offer from HQ. They wanted me in New York, but I said no. I needed air. I needed something that wasn't about corporate ladders or office politics. I gave my notice. 2 weeks later, I packed up my desk in silence. No party. No tears. Just a quiet goodbye to the building where I learned everything, and where I lost a piece of myself fighting to be seen. Brad? Last I heard, he tried starting a consulting firm. It didn't go far. The lawsuit scared off his clients. Word got around. He's a ghost now. No new jobs. No updates. Just vague posts about redemption and truth being misunderstood. People stopped liking them. Even his friends moved on. And me? I started my own company, small, quiet, honest. No drama. Just good work, with people who do the job without playing games. Sometimes I still think about that day in the boardroom. The way he smirked when he said I made copies. He wanted me to feel small. But I didn't need to fight loud. I just needed to let the truth show up, and stand still while it did. He thought I was harmless. He thought I wouldn't fight. He was wrong. I didn't just survive him. I erased him. And I'll never let someone like that take up space in my mind again.